You are joining us for episode 13 of Kitbashing. I'm so excited to have you here today. We have a really great build that we're going to be putting together today. We are finishing the rubber band powered racer that we started on just the other day. Now, if you look at our overhead cam, you'll see that we've got all of our parts here. We've got a few things we need to get, but we are ready to rock and ready to get those built. Here's what we're going to need for today. We're going to need yesterday's build. We're going to need the chassis of our vehicle. Remember, the chassis is the underside of a vehicle. We're going to need our rubber band. We're going to need our 2 ball bearings. And again, if you don't have the ball bearings, or if you can't find them, or they're used on another project right now, some of these nuts from your nuts and bolts bag can be substituted. You're going to need 6 magnets. You're going to need some tape, whether it's the gaff tape or something you've got at home. You're going to need 4 paper clips, a thumbtack, an index card, and whatever nuts and bolts we don't use for the rest of this project. So if you've got all of those things together, you'll have everything you need to create the rest of the car with us today. This is going to be a really fun build. I'm really looking forward to seeing this go and hopefully race across my desk, and everything should work out, I hope. So come build along with me. Again, my name is Jim. I am your host, and you are watching Kitbashing. Hello to our viewers. Again, I am Jim. I am your host for Kitbashing. And as I said before the intro, we are building our car today. Now, before we get there, I just want to show you a quick cam again. Luke's not with me again today. Every time he's not here, I get asked where he's at. Their school is actually having a teacher's parade where the teachers will come down, walk down the street, and it's going to be really cool. So he's excited about that. He's watching that. Tomorrow, he should be back here with me, and then we're going to have fun with our next build. But I want to show you our 3D printing lab. Right now, it's set up for a couple things. On the right-hand side, you see our laser is going, and that laser is actually cutting pieces for more kits. We've had people request kits this week, and so we're going to make some of those kits and then set those up for pickup for this week. And then on the left side, if you see that white 3D printer, that's getting ready to start, and once it gets going, it's going to be printing out those face shields that we talked about yesterday. So cool stuff is happening behind the scenes. We've got all of these neat things going on, but today our focus is going to be on building the car. Now, last episode, we built the chassis. Again, remember, in the automotive world, a chassis is the foundation on which the vehicle is built. So we have our chassis. We took our bearings and we made our bearing containers using this piece of white index card. And then also we have a rear axle that spins independently of the rest of the chassis. And that's very important. We need to have that because that's where we're going to get the power for the rubber band racer to begin with. So to get started here, we're going to jump right in, and I'm going to take my chassis. And now with my chassis, I'm going to move some things out of the way here. I had a bunch of stuff laid out so you could see what we needed as the kit started. But we're going to take our chassis and we're going to start building onto it the pieces that we need for our racer. First, I'm going to take this thumbtack or push pin, whatever you choose to call it. Everybody's got a different name for it. But we're going to take that and we need to insert that into our pen body that has become our axle. That's going to be really easy to do, actually, because this plastic's pretty soft. The one thing you want to do is you want to try to make sure you're centered up pretty good. Like this would be bad, this would be bad. We're aiming for the middle, and it doesn't need to be perfect. And in fact, mine will probably not be perfect because I'm doing this from a sideways view. But if, let it focus, if you're close, it's, go over here a little bit. If you're close, that's all that matters. This is, you know, they say horseshoes and hand grenades are the only things that you can be close on and have it fine. This is the same way. So I didn't get that quite perfectly centered, but you don't need it to be perfectly centered. It's still going to operate if it's a little off center. And if you're a perfectionist and you really, really want to fix it, you absolutely can. I might take mine, and just because I really like this to be centered, I can take it out and poke it, and it's really, really, really easy to poke. I mean, like, seriously, this plastic, you can take this out and poke it again and then get it to work the way you want it to several times. So now what we have is we have our rotating axle with a rubber band restraint here. So now we've got something to stop the rubber band, and this thing will spin independently of your vehicle, which is what we want because that's how it makes it go. All right, so now, next step, we need to figure out how we're going to put wheels on this thing. We've got a few more things we need to do before it's ready to roll, but wheels are the next challenge. Now, here's a situation, though. If you look at our racer, you'll realize we have already used all 4 bearings. Now, the front bearings, we can use those for wheels. That's really easy. We can just take the wheels, pop them on there. These are actually the same size as the bearings, so it's going to work just fine. So we don't need to worry about the front too much, but the back, that's where we're going to have to figure something out, because how are we going to connect these wheels, which have a giant hole in the middle, to this axle, which is much smaller diameter? Well, there's an easy way to do this, and it's going to involve paper clips. MacGyver would be so proud. So, I have my wheel, and I have paper clips. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line up one paper clip with the wheel, like so, and then on the other side of the wheel, I'm going to line up my second paper clip. And the cool thing is these paper clips are just about the same size as your wheel. The width of them is about the same as the wheel. So it's easy to find the center point, but when you center one up going this way and the other going across, now you can see there's almost a perfect spot dead center for this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our longer bolts, and I've got some weird ones because this was we put this kit together after we put several of the other kits together. So you might have different long screws than I have. Mine have a hex head on them. Yours might have the Phillips head screwdriver head. They're the same. They work the same. The threads are the same on them. They're just a different head style. And so all we're going to do is we're going to put a nut on this, and while I'm holding my whole contraption together, see how I've got my thumb holding the end of the bolt, and that's holding this paper clip in place, and then on the other side I've got 2 fingers holding this paper clip in place, and that leaves a gap, and it leaves it free for my finger to tighten this nut. And again, we only need to do things like as tight as we can get them by hand. Now you want to get this one really, really tight. If you don't, there will be sadness. And so you'll want to get it really, really tight. And you'll see that if you do it right, you're going to bend those paper clips. And that's how you know you got it just about tight enough. And I'm going to really, really tighten this as much as I can, because I do not want my wheel going anywhere. And I'm seeing now it looks like, I think that's pretty good. I think I got that pretty tight. And there we go. If it moves a little and if it's not perfectly centered, then you can move this a little bit by hand. There we go. I got mine where I want it to be. And then don't worry if there's a little bit of, like, if the paper clip starts to come up and it makes contact. When we wrap these wheels so that they're ready to roll, we're going to eliminate that issue. So now I have one wheel, and we're going to do that a second time. I'll do that on the desk cam so you can actually see me do it up close. So here's our wheel, and again we have paper clips. I'm going to put one paper clip on the back side of the wheel, centered up as best I can. So there it is, pretty well centered. And we're going to take our second paper clip and we're going to put it across so that we have, there we go. so that we have two paper clips that are together going across each other perpendicular, going 90 degrees to each other. Now what we're creating here is we are just creating a centered point that we can then take the large screw that you have, machine screw or bolt, whatever you have, drop that down on the center. And so now this is the hub that's going to connect to our wheel. And I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to hold this down here so that you can see. It's kind of hard to see sometimes when my fingers are in the way, but that's how it happens. I'm going to just get this centered just the way I like it. And here's the thing, is that if it's not perfect, you can adjust it until it is. You can tweak this and move this, and now I've got it just about exactly where I want it. And so the next step is that I'm going to tighten this down. Okay, cool. I said, okay, cool, and my phone thought I said, okay, Google. That's kind of funny, actually. Okay, cool. Now I think it's figured out. Oh, no, see, it thought I was calling it cool, which is definitely not the case right now. So, I'm going to rotate this just a little bit so you can see the wheel again. There we go. So you can see the wheel again, and this is not the best angle because of the light directly behind us, but I'm going to keep tightening. There we go. And then I've got this a little off center. Like I said, this is an easy thing to fix. We just take our fingers and we just push the bolt, and you can kind of see with your eyes where center is on this. There we go. You can kind of see if it focuses, which it never does. I really do need a better desk cam than what we've got, but I don't have one, so we'll make this work. There we go. All right, so if it's not perfectly centered, you can move it until it is with your eyes, and okay, I really like where that's at. So we're going to tighten it down, and tighten, tighten, tighten. Tighten is also my dog's name, by the way, incidentally. There we go. All right, and so now we should have two bolts that are basically round. And if you need to bend the wheel axle on your actual hub, you can do that if you need to. So I'm looking at mine, and what I'm doing is I'm spinning it in place. The reason I'm doing that is I'm trying to make sure that the wheel basically stands up straight when I turn the screw. Okay, I've tested that. Now I'm going to test this other wheel, and it's okay. There's a little bit. See, if you watch, I rotate it. Right now, it's leaning kind of towards the right, but then if I keep going, it leans kind of towards the left on this side. You can kind of even that up a little bit if you just bend it just a little bit. And that's a little better. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, so now I have one wheel, two wheels. There is still a problem because while I have a really cool wheel, my issue is that they'll slide right out of this axle. And so normally in a situation like this, like with a car, you would have something to lock your hubs into place so that they don't come out. Wisdom is perceiving an issue before it becomes an issue. Shh. I'm turning my phone to silent because somebody will call. That's how it goes with my life. So now I have this bolt that just goes in and it won't stay in. How do I make that fit? Well, this is where our next handy trick comes in. Remember yesterday how we took our index card and we turned it into half of an index card? We tore off a few pieces so that we could have our retainers for our bearings. We're going to take that same piece, and what we're going to do today is we're actually going to use it to make some retainers for our hubs. So what you're going to do, this is really not very hard at all. If you've got scissors, you can cut this. Otherwise, we're going to fold it into a very small fold. And you can see on this camera, this is, you know, and this might even be too much, but not even the same width as the wheel. If you can do, as the bolt, if you can do that, then you're really set. But I'm going to make several of these. And so we'll probably make, a total of 8 of these. So 4 for every wheel. And remember the technique from yesterday where you fold it one way, use your fingernails to crimp it down, you fold it the other way, and that makes a really nice crease that you can tear against on this paper. And again, if you've got scissors, you can just cut it. It's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. It will actually probably make your life a little quicker. But I am coming in here and I'm going to make a couple more of these so that we can see what we're doing. So I know right now it's like, okay, he's tearing paper. Why is he just tearing paper when you are supposed to be figuring out a way to make your wheels stay locked in your hubs? Anybody who's watching on YouTube or on Facebook, I see we've got a few viewers on both. Anybody want to throw out an idea in the live chat? No? No? I'll give it a couple seconds to catch up in case we're buffering. No. All right, so I'm going to tell you why. Because here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our axle, which is hollow in the middle, as many axles are, and we are going to insert the paper into the axle. And actually, I'm going to make my life a little easier. I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to kind of crimp it with my nails. And so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to make it so it's got a little bit, see how it's a little curved? That'll make it fit in here better. Now, I'm not going to push it all the way in. I'm only going to push it in about halfway, 2/3 of the way. And then I'm going to fold this part over so that way it doesn't go all the way in. You don't want these to get all the way in. You won't be able to use them correctly. It won't do you any good. So now I'm going to make a second one, and we're going to do the same thing where I fold it in half. So I folded this piece in half, and then I'm like using my fingernails to crimp it into a sort of half moon shape. So there we go. And that's going to go on the other side. And then those will go in. And again, this is not super high-tech work, but we do want to make sure that we leave this tab sticking out. Now, if you've done it the way that I did, what you're going to see is you're going to see a little bit of a hole in the middle. That's exactly what you want. Now, we're going to test, and I'm going to take my wheel now that's got the bolt in it, and we're going to put that where this paper is, and we're going to just very gently slide it in place. And what we should discover, what I've discovered, is that it's very hard to do because it's actually now, with those 4 pieces of paper, not wanting to go in. And that means that we've done it right. So what we've done is we've used that paper to create some tension so that now this piece here is the right size. And so now this won't just slide in or out anymore. I could probably push on it to get it to go in, and you might want to do that because it would be faster. Otherwise, the way that we're going to get this to go in is good old-fashioned manual turning it. And if you find that it's like way too tight, like now I've got this in here and I'm going, oh man, I don't know if I can get this out once I get this screwed in. You can unscrew this and you can take one of the pieces of paper out or half of one of the pieces of paper out. Because we folded it in half, that means that there are 4 pieces of index card in there with the bolt. And if you find that that's too much for your pen, take one out, use 3. And if you've built your own kit, maybe you'll find something entirely different as far as dimensions go. Maybe you won't need this filler at all, or maybe you'll need to improvise something else. I'd love to see those sort of customizations. If you have those, you can always send them to me. My email is kitbashing@madenewOmaha.com, and if you send that to me, I will get that. I love seeing the creativity of the people who are following along. I love seeing the way that you improvise stuff, and so that would be a really, really cool way to show off what you're doing with the kit. And now I've just about got it. And if you didn't notice, what I've been doing is I've been using the thumbtack as a little lever on my axle to give me a little extra leverage. And I'm going to make sure my wheel is centered. Okay, that's cool. And if your wheel starts sliding around a little bit, we're going to fix that in a minute with the tape. So don't worry too much. But my wheel's pretty much centered, and it's on the bearing the way that it should be, on the axle the way it should be, and everything seems to be awesome. All right, so we're going to hold this in place for a moment, and then we're going to switch gears over to doing the other side. So again, if you've done a customization or if you've built your own objects, send them to me at kitbashing@madenewOmaha.com. And if we like what you've built, well, we'll probably like what you built if you're being creative. We'll say so. And if we really like what you built, we'll show you how to build it on it. We'll show everybody how to build it on a future episode. So kitbashing@madenewOmaha.com is that. Now I'm going to take this and the same thing. I folded the paper. I crimped it into a C shape. We're going to pop it in here. And then I'm going to fold it down so it's not taking the whole thing. Now that last wheel was really, really firm. And I don't know that I necessarily need it that firm. So instead of using this whole piece that we tore off, I'm only going to use one this time. And I'm going to do the same thing where I kind of turn it into a C shape. And there we go. And you'll see these are only like inch-long pieces. Inch, if you need to figure it out, is about the distance from your knuckle to the next knuckle down, give or take. That is very rough, and for smaller hands, obviously that changes and it's not the same. But for those of us who are adults and we're looking for different units of measure, that is a really good one right there. All right, so I've done the same thing. I've got those out, and we're going to take this. Oh yeah, I can tell that's going to be a lot easier this time. And we're just going to turn this. I'm not even going to need to use that thumb screw. Now, you don't want it too loose. Like if I took out 2 pieces of paper, I think that would be way too loose. You want it to be tight enough that like I have to screw this to make it go in. I have to be turning this around. You want it that tight. You want it so that it's not going to change with the wheel. So like it's not going to change direction with the axle. So the axle will rotate the same as the wheel, because if it doesn't, then you're not going to get any traction. I'm doing this. This is going to take a second. While I'm twisting this on here, I will also talk about our website, which is, hang on, let me push the button. Hey, look, there it is, madenewOmaha.com/kitbashing. So if you go to the website, if you go to madenewOmaha.com/kitbashing, what you will find there is you will find every episode that we have shot. This is our 13th episode, lucky number 13. But the first 12, including the first part of this build. If you're tuning in today going, oh my gosh, I didn't see part 1 of this build, where do I find that? Or if you've watched the other episodes and you're like, oh, I want to know what else we can do with this, well, madenewOmaha.com/kitbashing is where you find that information. So now I've got this connected, and I've got the 2 wheels, and it's pretty good right now. I mean, if you spin one, the other spins. The thing is that, like, there's still a little bit of play here. And even with me trying to tighten it as much as I can, these wheels still, to some extent, can move independently. We don't want that. We have a great, super easy solution, though, and it is tape. If you have your gaff tape, you can use that. If you don't, you can use masking tape, scotch tape, packing tape, anything like that. And what we're going to do, adjusting my desk cam, what we're going to do is we're going to take our tape, and one big strip is going to go across the center just like so, and we're going to push that down really good so that it's making really good contact with that center bolt, because that bolt is very well connected to the axle right now. And then we're going to wrap it around the wheel, and that's really going to secure this quite a bit. You can see it torquing just a little bit. You can see the tape move one way and then the other when I try to rotate the axle, but that tape will hold it in place. Now, we're going to come over here and we're going to do the same thing. Take our big piece of tape and go right over. There we go. Sweet. And that will hold it from moving. Now the last thing we want to do for these wheels is we want to take a piece of tape that is long enough, and for that to be the case, it's going to be about, there we go. If you go about the distance of the pen width, that's about the right amount of tape. And we're going to tear it in half this way. And then I've shown you this trick before numerous times, and if you're using a different type of tape, it might not work so well or at all, but I'm also going to tear it the long way, so I have 2 strips of tape. Now we're going to take one side, and I'm going to set it over here for right now. Don't need it till later. And I'm going to take this other side, and we are just going to wrap this wheel. And if you made it, it should be a little longer. I should have said it should be a little longer because you'll notice that I missed a little bit here. I messed up. Oops. Not the end of the world. I do mess up from time to time. I am not perfect, regardless of what many people say. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But if you need more, that's okay. I'm just tearing another piece off here off camera, and then I'm going to put that on here. And so what we're going for is we really want the whole wheel to have a little bit of tape around the edges. So that tape's got a little bit more texture, and if you're using like packing tape or scotch tape, you might have mixed results. I'd be interested in knowing how it works for you if you do it that way. But that little bit of extra texture is really going to help us when we put this together. Now, same thing, we're going to take this wheel and we're going to put our tape around it, and I'm going to just rotate the wheel with the tape on, pinching it as we go. So it's kind of the same way we made the retainers for our rear axle for those bearings. We just roll it all the way around, and I take my last piece of tape here, and we're just going to pinch it on just like we did with the other one. The other thing is that this makes the wheel not perfectly round, so it might give it some places to grab a little bit, which is totally okay. So we've got our 2 wheels, and I'm going to be honest, like the itty bitty bearings on the front, they kind of look cool on their own. With the official build, we can put the wheels on here and raise this up a little bit. We'll see. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Next step. Our car is just about ready to roll, and actually it does roll and can roll like this. But we have one more thing we have to do to make it ready for the rubber band racing. We've given it traction right here, and the next step is that we need to give it a little bit of weight on the back, because right now most of the weight is in front of our rear axle, which, you know, over here, and if you go try to find the center of balance, the center of balance is about here. So that's okay. I mean, that works with having that center of balance in front of the rear, but we really want to get that center of balance if we can. We need to move it to the axles, or maybe even slightly behind it. You do it brought up, this kind of reminds me of high school physics class where you had to make cars powered by a mousetrap. Yes, I love the mousetrap cars. Those are so much fun. And those actually are another project that we'll probably talk about on a later episode. That was part of the inspiration for this. The rubber band racer uses a slightly different transference of energy, but it's the same thing. We're taking energy from one source, this case a rubber band, and we're going to translate it into the energy from the wheels. And so now we want to get that weight balance, because everything has a center balance. You, me, everybody. And that center balance, if it gets thrown off, you know, if you stick your hands way out and somebody hands you a 100-pound weight, you're probably going to fall forward if you don't drop the weight, because now your center of balance has changed very quickly. And hopefully you do know that that's coming and you prepare yourself. But for the car can't prepare itself because it's an inanimate object. So we have to help the car have the correct center of balance from the get-go. Remember these popsicle sticks we put on the back way long ago? Well, we're going to put those to use right now. And I'm going to switch to my overhead camera, and you're going to see why. So we have our magnets, and I'm going to take half of them. So I've got 3 magnets. Take 1 magnet off of the stack of 3. And I'm going to put 2 magnets underneath. So 2 magnets down here like this, 1 magnet up here. All right, perfect. And we're going to do that on the other side. I'm going to drop 2 magnets on the bottom, 1 magnet on the top. Now here's the cool thing, is that we can really get our center of balance just about perfect with this technique. And I'm going to take our 2 ball bearings and I'm going to put them on the bottom. And the reason I decided to do that for the bottom, in addition to needing a little bit of extra weight, just a little bit more, those little bearings, because they're round, they're not going to create as much friction if the car gets a little bit kicked back. Now, without the front wheels on, this is way too heavy as it is. And I'm going to put the front wheels on just because that's part of the build project. And I want you guys to see the vehicle as we designed it. And then once we've done that, there we go. All right. Once we've done that, you can see that this is very nearly perfectly balanced. It's just a little bit heavier in the front end, which is totally cool. Actually, we might even want to adjust it more. Here's the neat thing, is you can adjust your center of balance on this vehicle just by sliding the magnets back and forth. Because they're held together by magnetic force, the closer I bring these magnets to my rear axle, the farther forward our center of balance is going to be for the vehicle. And I'm going to bring them forward just a touch on this car. I don't want it too far back, but I also, if your center of balance is too far forward, these wheels won't get enough traction to spin. If your center of balance is too far backwards, then it's going to be the same problem, except this end's just going to flop down and you're not going to get much motion. So I'm really kind of happy with where this is. If you look at the overhead camera, you can see it kind of rocks back and forth, back and forth. That's perfect. Next step, we need to put the rubber band on. This thing is just about ready to go. And we're going to take our rubber band, and step 1 to make sure that this doesn't go, because if you put the rubber band on, so if I put this rubber band on and mount it, every time this thing gets to the end of its run, it's going to fire the rubber band. And that might be fun if you're like terrorizing your cat or something. But I really don't want this thing to shoot rubber bands at people. So I'm going to take another piece of tape and we're going to tear off about 2 inches. So again, if you remember, 2 inches roughly, on your average adult hand, 1 knuckle to the next knuckle to your fingertip, or knuckle, knuckle, whatever. They're about 1 inch a piece, give or take. That's not perfect science, and smaller hands are a little bit shorter. But all we're going to do is we're going to take this, and we are going to take a piece of tape, and we're going to tape our rubber band down to our popsicle stick, and then just wrap this tape around a few times. So that way our popsicle stick holds the rubber band, that doesn't go anywhere. Now this is the top side of our vehicle, and the temptation is just to take this like it is and wrap it around. But if we make it a little bit wider by spreading this, and let me show you on the other camera, because that's actually a much better camera for this. But instead of, you can take this and just run it straight backwards. If you do that, it will work. The issue is that this is not very wide, and so you can't get quite as many twists. But I'll do that for this time, and then I'll show you the way that I did it on the last time that really worked. Now, all you have to do is, there we go. Wrap this from the front end to where your rubber band is, and then to get your car ready to go, you just turn the wheels backwards. And see, here's what I was talking about. I'm going to switch over to this camera. So see how this makes kind of a V shape, and it just barely clears your rubber band. If you want to make sure that it really, really, really clears your rubber band, what you can do is you can actually move these, instead of just going from the center here, you can wrap them around the ends of the popsicle stick from your build. And that will help a lot as far as making sure that you've got plenty of room to back up. And speaking of that, I'm going to hold the axle down, and we're just going to back this guy up. Back him up. I've got him wound 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I'll do one more for good measure. 5 times. All right. Oh, let's see if we can do 6. I've never done 6. I don't know. This could blow up on me. All right. Overhead camera. Be ready. I don't know if this is a good idea or an awful idea. Move some things out of the way. Hold the car down. And if this works, as I hope it will, we should see something pretty awesome. 3, 2, 1. Yeah! All right, it worked. It drove across the desk, and I was trying to do about 16 things at once, and so I didn't have a chance to like push the buttons very well or anything like that. But if you've got 2 people or more, you could actually have somebody who's timing this stuff. So you'd have a timer, and then you'd have the actual runner who would be in charge of running this. And the question I have is how long can you make this thing run, and how far can you make it go? So now again, I'm holding my axle just to give it a little extra support, and I'm winding it backwards. We're going to wind it 3, 4, 5, 6 times, whatever. Move this out of the way. And then get ready to launch. Make sure these things are all... And sometimes, you know, these are built with tape and popsicle sticks, so you might need to adjust your chassis a little if it starts to warp or anything like that. But I think mine is ready to go. We're going to launch in 3, 2, 1. I fooled you. 3, 2, 1, launch. Oh yeah, that was awesome. So, we did it. We built a self-powered propelled, and I'm just using my desk to propel this, but you could obviously propel this however, wherever you are, in your living room, wherever. But we've built a self-propelled little car that uses energy transfer. It takes the stretching energy, that tensile strength of the rubber band, and it converts that into a rotary force for your rear axle. And that's how we get motion. So here's my challenge for you guys. I want to see pictures of your cars. Send them to me at kitbashing@madenewOmaha.com. B, I want to see how you change, modify, upgrade, update these vehicles. And I want to see things that you do that maybe solve problems. So like one of the issues I've had with the test vehicle and with this is that after a few races, see how my bearing holder the kind of gets sort of weak? How do we fix that? Do we fix it with tape, maybe? Do we fix it with something else? I'm going to challenge you guys to come up with a solution for that and to send that to me at kitbashing@madenewOmaha.com. I will actually, here's a little bonus to whomever sends me the best modification of their vehicles. I will send you one of these little buttons. You'll have to, I'll tell you if you won. If you send me the coolest modification I see, I will send one of these buttons to in the mail so you can get it. I'll make sure to Lysol it first so you're safe. But I will send you something that you can wear to show off that you have contagious optimism even in the times that we are in. Well, that's all I got time for today. This was a really great build. It took a couple episodes, but we built a functional rolling rubber band powered car. Now in a future episode, we're going to take this same principle and we're going to use it to move in a different direction. Hint, hint. But that's going to be sometime down the road. For right now, I want you to enjoy these cars. Again, send those pictures to me. kitbashing@madenewOmaha.com. Again, I encourage you, if you want to see the previous episode where we started this build, if you want to see other episodes, go to madenewOmaha.com/kitbashing. We have all the episodes listed up there. You can also go to our YouTube page if you are there. If you are a YouTuber, if you are you watching us there, be sure to hit like and subscribe and follow us. So by ringing the bell, if you are a Facebook user, be sure to like our page so that you'll get notifications when we do these cool videos and we update this stuff. So that's all I've got today. If you're wondering where Facebook is, by the way, facebook.com/MadeNewOmaha is how you get there. My name is Jim. I have been your host today. I thank you for your time and bringing me into the home. You have been watching Kitbashing, and stay tuned for the next time when we build something new together.